Prananda, good afternoon and welcome back to the Rally Ceredigion. It is Mark James with you on the 12th stage of the rally. We're on the Sanavan stage. Where are we? East of Aberystwyth by probably about 10 or 12 miles, I reckon. This is the same stage we were on this morning, which was the first of the day. A loop of 3 stages and then back to service in Aberystwyth, and then this same loop of stages wraps up both the rally and the Protyre National Asphalt Championship for 2023. An earlier finish to the championship this year, as we've been saying, because the final planned round on Otterburn was cancelled, and so this weekend a double header for the Protyre Championship. And well, plenty of news, as you've been aware of, I'm sure, if you've been watching Paul Woodford on the other stream with Hugh Hunter. But indeed, let's talk you through the entire field going through stage 12. And joining me, as they did this morning, I've got a pair of pundits, of guest commentators, of minders, call them whatever you will, with me for the 2 days. In fact, 2.5 days, because we did the ceremonial start together, is none other than Matthew Jackson. You're very welcome once again, Matthew.
Thank you very much for having me yet again. You've not sent me back packing, but no, looking forward to this afternoon. What a glorious day we've got out here, so yeah, looking forward to it. And
those of you who know Matthew know that his colouring is challenging in the hot weather, shall we say. So he is slathered, if that's the right word, with sun cream. You should be all right, although you are a little pink.
Well, it's a remotely sunny day, but yeah, plenty of sun cream on when the action gets going now. Hopefully, hopefully we won't get too burnt.
So from a driver to a driver, a co-driver, an event organiser, a PR, and also one of the great minds, if I can put it that way, behind the original, he's laughing, of the original Asphalt Championship 40 years ago. Nigel Evans is with me as well. Nigel, you're very welcome.
Yeah, nice to be here on this tropical Welsh afternoon.
You said it's always like this in Wales.
It is really, you know, we've certainly got to big it up whenever we can, but no, it's beautiful. We're here with a fantastic view. You can see a lot of the stage ahead, and I'm sure it's going to be very exciting for everybody to watch.
Okay, I think I can hear a rally car echoing through the valley. Matt, very quickly, let's just recap on perhaps something that people might have missed. Stage 10 earlier, we were on stage 9 this morning. No issues really with us until right towards the end. Stage 10 stopped, and then stage 11 all the way through. What's happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a bit of drama in the Protyre. So Neil Ruskell, unfortunately, is retired with some mechanical problems. But in the rally overall, Ocean Price is still leading by 35.9 seconds. So a healthy lead, but still 3 seconds to go. That's over Marion Evans and Jonathan Jackson. And they are just 11.7s ahead of James Williams and Di Roberts. So that's been a battle that's been ongoing all day. So let's see how that pans out. The first of the Protyre runners overall, Callum Black and Jack Morton in 4th overall. They're currently 40 seconds ahead of James Ford, but I believe on the day 2 only results, let me just double check, because obviously we had a double point scoring round for the Protyre. Hang on a sec.
I will ask you a technical question very shortly because of, and in fact we've got our first car just coming into view while Matt wrestles with the timing system on his phone. We see the Volkswagen Polo R5 of the reigning British champion Ocean Price. Ocean with Stefan Prévost from Belgium alongside him in the Volkswagen. Another good location, producer Wayne. That's really long shot as the cars come into view across that ledge. Right, you've now caught up.
I've worked the technology. So, for the points in the Protyre for today, James Ford currently leads by 1.8 seconds from Callum. So, you know, after one morning's loop of stages, that's barely anything. So, it is all to play for this afternoon. But as it stands, Callum's in the driving seat for the championship.
Yeah, we'll explain that situation in a moment or two because we'll be getting Callum through 3rd on the road behind this man, Marion Evans, in the 2nd of the Melvin Evans Motorsport Volkswagens. So then, Matt, a two-way fight for the Protyre title. We've been talking about it all weekend. It's Callum versus Neil Ruskell. As you said, Neil Ruskell retired with a mechanical issue, we think. What does that mean? Has Callum already won the title? I know the answer, by the way.
No, because of the drop scores, Callum still has to finish the rally. So if Neil won the event or won the second day today, then Callum would have to finish 5th or above. But I think the way it stands, that Callum still has to finish the rally ideally in the current position to get the title. So yeah, big job this afternoon for Callum.
There he is, the black Fiesta Rally 2 of Callum Black and Jack Morton coming into view. So this stage and 2 more are now all that stand between Callum and the 2023 Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt title. Nigel, let me just bring you in. Huge disappointment for Neil for Neil and Andrew Ruffhead. With a shout of the title coming in here, it really was out of his hands. It was all down to see what Callum would do. You have to feel for Neil after potentially runner-up for the 2nd year running.
Yes, and he's done particularly well all through the years. He's been very consistent, which is what you have to be to win championships. But as you say, he's just falling a little bit short. And it was a long shot for this rally anyway. I think to take the title, but of course now he's got to retool and come back next year.
Well, it's not all over with. There's still 2 and a bit stages for Callum to have an issue. Not that we're wishing any ill on Callum, but not over just yet. Car number 2, 4th on the road, James Williams and Di Roberts. You're running splits again on this one, Matt?
They have got them going, so really interesting actually. So Marion appeared to be 5 up on Oshon there, but James just again 2 seconds up on Marion. So there's only 11.7 seconds I think between them. So it's still taking chunks out of each other. And Callum there was pretty much bang on the pace of Oshon. So exactly what we need him to do, or he needs to do for that championship.
Okay, should be James Ford through next in the lovely little Citroen, with Neil Shanks alongside. Car number 5, 5th on the road, the Rally 2 Citroen C3 should be next into view. So just to recap then, if you're joining us, we are on the final afternoon of the 2023 Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship, and that's not who I was expecting.
That appears to be Gary Pearson.
It does, colour scheme wise. That looks like car number 6, Gary Pearson and Dan Barrett in another of the polos. Nope. So possibly Gary ahead of James on the road. I don't know. We'll see who comes into view next. But no, as I say, we're on the final afternoon of the entire championship, and the dramas have continued right until the final day.
We said right from the start yesterday, didn't we, that it is a long rally, and we've still got 2.5 stages of the passes here, and it shows that with Neil's retirement that anything can actually happen. Really dry stages, lots of grip, but again mechanical woes, small errors have a big consequences.
All right, who's this? Oh, that's the Fabia. That's Mark Kelly. There's of course no Neil Roskell, unfortunately, so that is Mark Kelly and Will Atkins in the Skoda Fabia. So what has happened to James Ford? Perfect timing. Just had a message through on WhatsApp. James has gearbox issues at service at lunchtime. He is back out, but he may be later in the running order. Yes, well, we can confirm that. So, James Ford, Donna, if you're listening, down at service, perfect timing with that WhatsApp message. So James Ford, not in his position where we were expecting him between James Williams and Gary Pearson. So James Ford, some kind of gearbox issues fixed at service. So he will be through potentially, but running down the order. Is that Kevin Davis? It looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah. say, Nigel, the Melvin Evans Motorsport Volkswagens running like clockwork. All four of them already gone through past us.
Yes, and they have got a good reputation for doing so. Pretty much on all events he goes out on. I mean, he built, obviously Mel and his team built a fantastic car down there, and the Volkswagen has proved to be a very a good bet. You see them a lot in the Irish. I think the Irish champion this year was in a Volkswagen, not from Melbourne stable, but
now that looks like one of the Citroens. So is that James Ford? Steve? Could be. Could be Steve Wood, because of course he's re-entered today in the right-hand drive car. Yeah, the R8. So for another hour or two, I'm still correct in saying that's the current Protyre champion, Steve Wood, who won it in the Isle of Man last year. Disappointment throughout the season for Steve. Disappointment yesterday for him with retirement, back out today for the not only for the final day, but of course remember it's because of the double header. It's an event in its own right today, 45 stage miles, and as you were saying earlier on, Matt, about the length of the average national rally just today.
Yeah, it is. It is quite a demanding rally. So you've got another full day's worth of what would normally be a national event today. So yeah, plenty of stage mileage to cover. They've done the first pass, so know the roads a little bit better. Sometimes that can be a bad thing if you think you know the road. So it'll take plenty of concentration, especially in this heat actually as well. It'll make it difficult.
It's warmed up now. I mean, great way to end the season. And we had a good bout of weather here for this event last year. When you think back a week or so, the last couple of weekends of rallying have been really wet, so we've been fortunate. John Dalton in the Darien, this is. And also let me get the co-drivers in, John Dalton being co-driven by Gwynfor Jones and Steve Wood with Kenny Hull alongside. So we're still waiting for James Ford and Neil Shanks in the Rally 2 Citroen, teammates of Steve Woods. Or are we going to see this? Are we going to hear the 208 next of Kyle White and Sean Topping? Yes, we are. Have a listen to this.
when it comes to the echo factor, which is the noise bouncing off these magnificent nearby hills, I think that car probably wins the battle, right?
Well, we've been talking about aggressive anti-lag for the last couple of days. You can certainly, well, the car certainly makes its presence felt, doesn't it? Another Darien this could be. Indeed it is. Wayne Jones and Rhys Jones in car 26, another Darien T90. Ooh, yeah, let's just check that they're okay. Car 26 then, going off right in front of us on this stage. Doors open, marshals and spectators running down. So just running wide, both out of the car and okay. So marshals already running down the road to warn the next car just a minute away. So how badly damaged is that little Darien? It was quite a heavy impact. Ian Evans and David Evans appearing into view. So co-driver also running down with the OK board. So the message will get relayed that the crew are okay, but the car is sadly anything but. And they'll need to be slowed down as they just pick their way past the stricken Darien. Showing that there's enough room to get past the Darien, but it's dreadfully disappointing. Final afternoon, and yeah, what happened there, Matt? You just slid wide. I don't think there was that much gravel on the road, was there, or was there mud kicked up?
It is a little bit gravelly. There was a clear line when we arrived here just before. You could see on just the previous right-hander it just got unsettled, and when there's such a high grip difference between the really dry, sticky tar and that gravel, you know, there's no room for error here, and unfortunately just caught the bank and it sucked it in, and that was it, game over. Big shame for the guys.
It is Johan Lloyd, I think that is coming down towards us now with Sean Williams and another of the 208 Peugeots. And there is a good reason why I'll let the 208s go through without saying much over them, because you can't actually hear yourself over them.
No, you can't, but they do sound fantastic, don't they? There's little 3-cylinder engines with the anti-lag, the sequential gearbox. Yeah, they're just ace.
So you are on stage 12 of the JDS Machinery Rally Ceredigion for 2023. Of the 6 stages today, this loop of 3 repeated. We're live on 4 of them. That's myself, Mark James, Matthew Jackson and Nigel Evans, who we'll be speaking to in a minute. We're live on stage, well, the first stage of the day, and now repeated as the first stage of this afternoon's loop. As car 12, Andrew Purcell and Shane Buckley go past us, the crew from Ireland, in another of the Volkswagen Polos. Were you saying earlier on, Nigel, you'd competed in a Darien back in the day?
No, I haven't had the chance to compete in one, but I mean, they're very strong cars. I mean, it's certainly not the first time one has been involved in an accident, and they've got a good, pretty good reputation.
So you can see recovery work going on as they're peeling the fence work back from the Darien. So I'm just wondering, is there any damage to the actual... Actually, where is the radiator in one of those?
I still think they sit right in the front for cooling, you know, maximise the cooling. So yeah, with the post and the fence, I'd be surprised if the cooling pack hasn't been damaged in that.
Because it is a very lightweight car, as you were saying, Nigel, and it's what, mainly, I don't know, carbon fibre, plastic?
Fiberglass, yeah.
Fiberglass, yeah. Jason Pritchard picks his way past the Darien. Jason and Phil Clark in the RS 1800 Escort. Very pretty car, I've got to say, as the next car comes into view. Could be James Ford, running way out of position. Car 5 this could be, James with Neil Shanks in the Citroën C3 Rally 2. As we mentioned earlier on, news from service saying they had a gearbox issue at lunchtime, back out, but obviously running out of position now. So good news, the Darien fires up, but Producer Wayne, if you can just spin back round. The car's spinning up, but it's rear wheel drive, and at the moment the rear wheels are spinning without real fingers crossed they can get it back out of there. Is it just manpower they need to get it out? The car stops once again. Marshall. The Darien hopefully back on its way again. Another Mark II coming towards us. Ah yes, the yellow Mark II of Gwyndaf Evans. We didn't see much of him yesterday because he had a problem, but we saw him this morning and he's clearly on it again this afternoon. Car 16 this should be, Gwyndaf and Pereira Davis. So just to recap then, some stories from this final day of the Rally Ceredigion 2023. Neil Roskell, who was challenging Callum Black for the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt title. Neil Roskell unfortunately getting stopped with mechanical issues. Stage 10 was stopped earlier. We are on stage 12 of 14. And then Paul Woodford will be live with Hugh Hunter a little bit later on. So, as we were saying this morning, do keep an eye on your favourite social media feed, wherever you get the Protyre coverage from, and you'll get the alert when they go live. Richard Clues and Carl Williamson then in the Impreza, car 28. There's a rumbling noise in the background. That means they've fired up the Darien. Can they get it out? There is a gate. One of the marshals running down to see if they can get it out of the field. Yeah. Yeah, he's yeah. Yep. Yeah, the Mark II makes its way towards us then. I was just saying this morning, and we've been saying all weekend, do please be careful where you get your live streams from. I know we're getting close to the end of the rally, but you'll only get official streams in one of 3 places. Darren Atkinson, actually we need to do some sums here, because Darren Atkinson is 3rd overall in Protyre and has won his class, but could he finish ahead of Neil Roskell? Oh, that's not a question we've asked ourselves, is it? Because we were focusing on the battle between Neil and Callum. But Neil having pulled up, unfortunately, what does that mean for the points? So I've got a man working on that. And while we were watching Darren Atkinson go through, the good news is that the Darien is now out of the field. I don't think it's going any further for a number of reasons. Do you know, Nigel, I do like to see a well-driven Mark II, and we've seen quite a few this weekend.
We have. Those lads pressing on, they did on the other stage we saw, so they're having a good bit of fun.
They are Stefan Davis and David Sean Lloyd, car 18 in the Mark II. Now, I'm trying to think, did Kyle McBride go off? Did he pull up? Yeah, you're nodding, I am right. I was just thinking of the messages. We got stage 10 he pulled up, wasn't it? So yeah, Kyle McBride not through next. It should be another Mark II, potentially that of Dylan Davis and Theon Williams. That's the white one. Hall, that is in car 29, Protyre sticker on the bonnet, so competitors in the Protyre series. And yes, just as I was saying, there are only 3 places that you'll find the official streams for the remainder of the day, because Paul and Hugh will be live from the last stage of the rally, and then I will be live from the finish back down in Aberystwyth. But do please be careful where you get your streams from, either on the Special Stage Facebook account, or on the Rally Ceredigion Facebook account, or on the Protyre Championship Facebook account, or indeed on YouTube, on the Special Stage channel on YouTube. Don't go anywhere else, because we are hearing that there are all sorts of dodgy, spammy links where people are asking you to pay for coverage. It's free on those 3 accounts, and only those 3 accounts. Please don't click on any other links. The G3. gave you chapter and verse about the G3 if you were with us this morning, but lots of good information coming in late last night about that car and its history and who built it and who ran it and who rebuilt it. And that is, you were absolutely right, a Jaguar engine, 6-pot.
It does sound great, doesn't it? I was just, we've had the splits running all the way through, and it's quite interesting. So you see the difference in sort of power and technology. So, you know, that obviously Lee driving that car incredibly well. Sort of 25 seconds down on the top R5 cars here, so it shows you those modern R5 cars, just how good they really are.
And that is a well-driven G3, and it's got loads of grunt.
Absolutely, you couldn't drive that any quicker, I wouldn't imagine.
So Lee Edwards that was, and Gary James in the Escort G3. Another Mark II coming down the hill towards us. Neil Williams, was that son of Corbett you were saying earlier on? Yes, I remember. See, I do listen to what you were saying, Nigel. Neil Williams and Eric Davis in the Mark II Escort car 25. And let's do it again, Nigel, because I love this. You competed with his dad.
Yes, I did. We did, I don't know, a whole season or a couple of seasons in Group 4 Escorts as they were then.
Big arches.
Big arches, plenty of sticky Michelins and just a tremendous amount of fun, which, you know, and it's good memories to keep with you, isn't it? Corbett was a great driver, and Neil is following in his footsteps.
I think this is Brad Cole in the blue Mark II. Yep, Brad Cole and Jamie Vaughan, car 31 this should be. Yeah, I mean, Matt, I think Brad will be pleased to get a good result today if he can, but also in many ways pleased just to get the championship over with, the season over with, and come out fighting again next year.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's one of the really good things that they've come out today. They seem to be going pretty well. We can see on the results when we get to the end of this one. You know, for those guys, it'd be good for them to just have a good day out, enjoy their day sport. You know, that's ultimately what we all do it for, and kind of end the championship on an absolute high, ready for next year.
Yep, and as we were saying, that cliche about if he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. I mean, even yesterday, retiring, but they were on a good run. I was talking about that video that somebody posted of them jumping. You know, hopefully they can get to the end of the day with no more dramas and get something good, decent under their belts and finish the season on a high. Edwin Morgans and Daniel Petrie in car 53. See if you can remember. How many Mark II Escorts are there?
Is it 43? 42. I was one.
Well remembered. Well, fair play.
It was close. Just noticed on the side of a few of the cars actually that Aberystwyth Motorsport, so you know, very local motorsport prep company, or is it through the university, or I'm sure someone can educate us, but it's great to see a local sort of, let's say, advertisement or sponsorship or kind of just the local team out on their local rally.
Do you know what, the other thing I spotted, we were looking back at the, you'll forgive us if we're not reacting quickly to the comments that are coming in on the various streams, because we're trying to keep an eye on 3 of them. But a lot of very positive comments, not only about the coverage, which we're very grateful for, but about the rally itself. People saying, thank you, really enjoyed it, watching from my garden, watching from Aberystwyth, this is great, was in the town centre last night. There's a real buzz about the whole weekend, and I think the community generally has taken the rally to their hearts.
Yeah, it seems so. You know, when we're out on the stage like this weekend, everyone seems to be really enjoying it, and it's nice to see so many people out actually enjoying the rally. You know, there's a lot, as we stand here now, there's a lot of guys behind us, all from the local houses around us, just enjoying the day sport. Obviously, the sunshine helps, but yeah, it's you know, it takes a lot to put a rally like this on, so it's good to get the support that it needs. And
also good marshals. I mean, we talked yesterday about, we saw marshals from Mull, who are probably by now home. I had a message earlier on that we mentioned the marshals that we saw from Mull Car Club yesterday. They were waiting, I think, earlier on for the ferry to get back onto Mull. I think they should pretty much be home now, so it was great to see them. But a lot of motor clubs, the marshals that have been chatting to us at this location from some of the Welsh clubs. So everyone's going to come together to make sure that this is running, because it does take an awful lot of manpower, people power, to get it to work.
Absolutely. I believe there's over 600 marshals, all of whom are volunteers. You know, so without the volunteers, the sport and the event simply wouldn't run. So huge thanks to them. Yeah, like I say, from all over every corner of the country, I would imagine.
36, Will Onions and Dave Williams. And it's not just the marshals as well. Matt, I was saying, because your dad is in one of the safety cars. I know some of the guys in the safety cars, the recovery cars, the paramedics, the rescue crews. I saw Dave Cooper earlier on, a friend of mine, a paramedic from Swansea. He's out on the event doing medical cover. So people coming from all over, bringing rescue vehicles, recovery vehicles. When you have a think about how big this event is, not just this event, sorry, it's to put on any event of this size, you need an awful lot of people, an awful lot of machinery to come together to do it.
That's right. I'm part of the organising team for an event in October, the Cambrian Rally, and we've already started having those preliminary conversations about next year's rally to give you an idea on timescale. And again, all volunteers, the whole safety car team, all the marshals, officials, volunteers. The amount of man hours that goes into it, running a rally is phenomenal. So yeah, it's purely run by that army of volunteers, and we can't thank them enough, really.
If you are watching this and you've not thought about maybe volunteering or getting into marshalling, have a look into it. We see car 48, the RS 1800 Escort of Howell Davis and Dorian Evans go past us. Yeah, just to say, there was an initiative a couple of years ago from the forerunner to Motorsport UK, the MSA, called Go Motorsport, to try and get people into competing and marshalling and get them into getting a license of one form or another. But if people want to start marshalling, approach your local motor club. See if you can find them, see what kind of events they do. If the local motor club, does, I don't know, circuit racing or whatever, there'll be a club in your area, I'm sure, that does stage rallying or road rallying or whatever it is.
Of course there will. There is a big list on the Motorsport UK website, also how to get your free licence. But yeah, I think every motor club, or there will be a local motor club that has some form of rally interest, whether it be the absolute grassroots 12-car scatter rally, road rally, all the way through to this level multi-venue stage rally.
Rory McCann and Paul McCann in the Civic going past. Dare I ask, Nigel, and this is not meant to sound cheeky, you've been around a little bit longer than I have. How did you get into motorsport?
I think I told the story a little earlier on about when I went from school on a school trip, as it were, not an official school trip, but with buddies from school, and we went up into the middle of Brecfa Forest in the middle of the night on a Wednesday, because we heard that this strange thing called a rally was coming through, and of course I fell in love with it right there. And then it wasn't that long after that, certainly as soon as I got my license, that I started building my own rally car and competing from there. And yeah, it was quite a long way from there before I started organising, but it developed slowly over the years. And once you get it in your blood, you can't let it go.
Oh, I know that feeling only too well. 46 from the Isle of Man, Steve Allman-Smith and Callum Young in the Evo 9 Mitsubishi. I think that's true for everybody that's involved in motorsport in one aspect or another, competitor, organiser, marshal, that, once it's in your blood, that's it. You can't shake it off, can you? You're with it then. And there are the various disciplines. Different motor clubs specialise in auto tests or circuit racing or hill climbs or whatever it is, sprints. But I was lucky, my local motor club was Port Talbot. My brother was a member and they organised stage rallies. So it was a nice easy way in for me, and I started marshalling and then competing, and off we went.
And I started with Carmarthen Motor Club, which is also a very strong Welsh motor club. And they also focused on rallying, because of course in Wales rallying is probably the #1 motorsport, and so it was kind of a natural progression to become so involved in rallying over the years.
We are blessed in Wales, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to any other area of Wales, and I know people will be rolling their eyes going, oh yeah, Wales Rally GB was in the Welsh Forest for so many years, and it should have gone to Kielder and it should have gone to Scotland or wherever. But actually, you've got some really, really good rallying country in this part of the world. And as somebody who's involved in organising a rally in Wales, Matt, you must be very grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said before, it takes so long to put so much effort to put a rally on. So yeah, any support, every bit of support is well received.
The stages that you've got to play with are some of the best in the UK, and Again, I'm trying to choose my words carefully because I really don't want to upset anybody, but we are blessed, aren't we?
Of course we are. You know, we use some of the North Wales forestry, which, you know, again, it's preference, but I'd say are some of the best. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's all down to preference. But to have the opportunity to use them, you know, you absolutely can't fault it. And yeah, we'd be lost. Absolutely, would be lost without them.
Let's just catch up on a couple of the crews. 83 going through. Martin Rossiter and Ian Davis, and before that, you saw Michael Harbour and Ian McDougall. If you can just have a look to see if any times have started to come through. I'm just going to see if I can engineer back onto Facebook and see what I can do in terms of comments that we can react to. Right, where are we here? Nope, wrong one. So if you are sending us comments, please be patient. I'll try and get round to them. Just a lot of comments on the Darien. If you were watching earlier, you'll have seen the dramatic crunch of the Darien going off right in front of our camera. I'm pleased to say that crew are both okay. Cars, not so much, but it is out of the field. It's through the gate and parked up, so that'll be recovered once all the crews go through. And the recovery teams, again volunteers, as we were saying, will work their way through the stage, and then we'll recover it back to the main road, or even back to Aberystwyth, I guess, so that the service crew can come and pick that car up. Chris Ford with Neil Coleman alongside. Neil, of course, with Mark Kelly last year, for much of last year. But Neil telling me before the start that Chris had asked him to do this event, and I'm pleased to say that not only is Mark back doing events, but doing really well. Quickest on both of the town stages in Aberystwyth last night. But Neil, had already committed himself to doing the event with Chris. But fingers crossed, if Mark is going to do the championship next year, then potentially Neil will be back with Mark in the Skoda for next year. Car 81, I think. I knew. But thanks for confirming. Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy Fiesta R2 of Aoife Raftery and Geraldine McBride, car 81. And as we mentioned earlier on, the sister car of Kyle McBride and Liam McIntyre having already gone out. So actually, they are, looking down the order, something like the second Irish crew. They are. Andrew Purcell and Shane Buckley in the Volkswagen are the first Irish crew on my running order. Aoife and Geraldine second. William Hill, this potentially is. Is Phil White? Oh, Kyle White. Oh. But he's down as GBR, of course, so on my list. Well picked up though. William Hill and Richard Morton Crozier, this should be. Just like Darren Atkinson, who's already secured his class, B14, Will already had secured B13 before this weekend, which is just as well because that car I don't think is eligible, is it, for B13? No, it's not.
No, it's not. The Rally 3 car was what fits into B14, so with the four-wheel drive, so the R200 there, just front-wheel drive. So yeah, not eligible for that class, but I believe you already sealed up the class.
Yeah, absolutely. So should be another Irish crew next. Jack Brennan and John McGrath in another of the Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy entries. In fact, it's the Clio this time through. got some times for me?
We certainly have. So through this one, this actual stage time, so as we saw in the split, so James Williams and Di Roberts have gone fastest by 2.1 seconds over Marion Evans and Jonathan Jackson. So Marion and my brother still going strong, but that gap between them ever closing. So a good battle for second overall. Third fastest through, it was James Ford. So James running slightly down the order, but still on the pace. It's good to see. Followed by Oshan, just 3.1 seconds behind. Followed then by Callum Black and Jack Morton. So Callum and Jack still doing a great job there, doing exactly what they need to do. 2 more stages to go for that championship.
Ooh. But as we keep saying, to finish first you have to finish. I'm full of cliches this weekend, I'm really sorry. But 2 more stages now between Callum and the Protyre Championship title. And Neil Roskell must be sat back at service, completely helpless to do anything but watch. Liam Kelleher and Moy Williams, that is, in the Honda Civic, car number 80. If you're just joining us, by the way, welcome to stage 12 of the JDS Machinery Rally Ceredigion 2023. It's Mark James, Matthew Jackson and Nigel Evans standing on a very lovely Welsh hillside, probably about 10 or 12 miles inland from Aberystwyth, for this first stage of the final loop of 3 before we head back to Aberystwyth and the stage finish. And I know we've been saying it all day, Nigel, glorious way to end the season.
It is, yes. And it's especially good because we've had 2 months of really bad weather, so they've really struck lucky here, and it makes it so much better and easier for all concerned if the weather is good.
Car 32, the green Mark II Escort, is that of Gary and Linda Thomas. We've been asking you, the audience, the various questions over the weekend, and you've, as always, responded magnificently with all the comments and the filling in the knowledge gaps. We talked about the Gilburns, we talked about the G3, and a really good post as I was talking about on the first stage this morning, with lots of information came in overnight. And that, of course, will continue next year, because all being well, we'll be back out for the Protyre Championship as of next year. Calendar not yet announced, so do keep an eye on the Motorsport Press and also on the championship website, and also on social media at Asphalt Rallying is the Twitter handle. Oop, little lock up there. Mark and Claire Lennox. Oop. Car 47, 47th on today's start list. I think we've lost a couple of cars though since then. So Mark Lennox and Claire Lennox in yet another Escort. And we did have something like 103, 104 cars past us this morning on the first stage. A couple of cars have retired since then. But as we were saying this morning, and as we've been saying all weekend, you know that we've reached the end of the rally when you see those familiar white Land Rover Defenders from the Armed Forces rally team go past us. Mike English and Simon Hunter then, car 44, and another Rally 2 Fiesta. By my reckoning, that's about halfway through the field. So we will be following all the crews through this stage 12 before we hop down to Aberystwyth. We join the convoy leaving the stage because we're parked up probably about 2/3 of the way towards through the stage. We took a drive of about 5 or 10 minutes, I guess, from our previous location up the hill to this glorious location found by producer Wayne, where you can see the cars from a long, long way coming towards us, past us, and then away from us up the hill. And the plan is we head down to Aberystwyth for the official finish. We'll see the various podium ceremonies, but also to crown our new Protyre champion. 168 is Berwyn Evans and Ivan Devine in another Mark II Escort. I know we started the weekend, Matt, with me saying, okay, you'd rather be in a car. What's this done to you the last day and a half or thereabouts?
Maybe want to accelerate the build of the car. No, it does make you realise though that obviously you're building a car. There's a lot of things to consider, and obviously you look at the stage conditions that we've got here. We had yesterday that it's looking at that town centre stage last night. We talked about the micro, the really big wheels. Maybe going too big, it gives you that speed, but maybe not great for those town centre stages. So it gives you a lot to think about watching what everyone else is doing.
When are we likely to see it make its debut?
In the first quarter of next year, I'm hoping. So sort of by kind of March time, I'm hoping the car will be finished and done out there and start testing. But obviously, it all depends on part supply. Some of it's a little bit difficult at the moment, which is obviously great for the industry. But if ever all these suppliers are busy, but not so great when you're waiting for parts. But that's the plan. See how the budget comes along, of course. But if we're out testing sort of March time, then I'll be happy.
Good. Nigel, a similar question. Do you miss it? Competing, I mean?
I do. I mean, especially when you're stage side and watching it, it brings back all the memories and it makes you want to do it again. But I mean, I think, I've done probably 150, 160 events in total, so I've done my fair share. And I think it's good to look back on the memories. I'm not quite sure I'll start a new career at the moment.
I see, but I had Phil Sandham with me on the Argyll rally, and Phil's still competing at probably a few years older than you, so it can be done.
Absolutely possible, yeah. I mean, we were talking earlier on about Bob Bowden.
We'll just let car 58, Jonathan Steckman and Alan Davies goes past us. Yes, we were talking about Bob Fowden.
Now, Bob, of course, is famous in the world of rallying, and he has the distinction of winning the very first event in what is now the Protyre Championship, which was the Virgo Rally on Epint in Mid Wales, tail end of 1983, the first event in the 1984, strangely it may sound, but that's the way that worked over there. So Bob won that event in that huge Rover SD1 that he had, which he was able to pilot unbelievably quickly over Epint and everywhere else. And he's still competing today, so...
He must be getting on for 80?
Yeah, I'm not,
yeah, be tactful here, but it's certainly in his 70s.
Yeah, we don't need to be tactful because he's a lot bigger than me, so we don't want to upset him. No, I mean, Bob is... He's been around and he's still competing he's got an ex-works Subaru, which is a great car to see, and long may he continue.
Another Honda Civic, that of Tim Johnson and Roger Burkill. Yeah, Nigel, you were talking about Bob Fowden winning the first round of what has become the Protyre Championship, the Asphalt Championship 40 years ago. Some other big names have come through this championship over the years.
Yeah, John Price, of course, was I think he's the winningest driver in the history of the championship.
Worked in America, clearly, with a word like winningest.
Yeah, I spent a long time in America, so excuse my language, but no, I think he's won the most titles, if I'm correct. But yes, over all the years, there's been a lot of drivers have used this championship because it's clearly, obviously, the best asphalt-based championship in the country, and it's.
But it's moving on into a new era now with the advent of the closed roads, not just in Scotland but in England and Wales, and of course it's always been popular in Northern Ireland generally. So we're now seeing I don't want to say a new generation, but there's maybe a resurgence in interest in asphalt rallying because of the nature of the event. We've been talking about how great the roads are in Ceredigion this weekend, and they are different stages to that we used last year. So the organisers here are very lucky.
Yes, when the UK Parliament passed the law to allow us to rally on public roads, finally, after we've been asking for many years, but they finally did that, and that reinvigorated the whole asphalt rallying scene. Back in the early days of the championship, we were only able to use venues such as Epint and Otterburn, as good as they are. And then, of course, the single venue stages like Longleat or Pembrey and Tour of Cornwall, things like that. But,
let me just interrupt you. Matt, we were having a conversation about that car, 63, Grant Shand and Jimmy Shand, and we were saying that colour scheme reminds me of something. Somebody actually pinged us a message, and they think is it Valvoline?
Duckham's.
Sorry, my fault.
Yes.
Yes, Duckham's. So that's what it was, because producer Wayne and we were talking about it when we were sitting waiting to set up for the stage, and we thought potentially Rothmans. Not quite Rothmans, but no, you're right, Duckham's. And it's Nigel, actually, that brings us back to John Price. He was sponsored by Duckham's for a while in blue and yellow.
Yes, he was for many years, and then towards the peak of his career, he got a really big sponsorship deal with them, and they painted the car entirely in Duckham's colours, and it really looked fantastic. And they were a big supporter over the years.
Have been of rallying generally, so whoever it was, thank you for just filling us in. But yes, Duckham's, that's what that car reminds me of. As car 59 passes us, Richard Williams and Alan James in another of the Mark IIs. I'm glad you were on the case there. What am I talking about? Valvoline? That's far too modern.
And I think that was also the car we were talking about Ocean Price used. Was it in the Escort Special in Belgium, or it's certainly used on a couple of believe it's the same car that Ocean used to quite some success with it. I'm sure there's a couple of rally wins with that, so I'm sure someone in the comments will get it in there for us. But yeah, I do believe that is the same car, and it certainly goes well.
It does, and it looks the part as well, doesn't it? And we've been talking about colour schemes and, Gwendav's yellow car and the rest of it. And I've been saying about how pretty the Citroens look. This is it's an all-round spectacle, isn't it? It's how the cars sound, the 208s, how the cars look, the Citroens or whatever. But also, we've touched on the fact that at service you've got the 4 Polo R5s lined up, the 3 Citroens lined up. It's nice. I'm struggling to find words, mainly because I'm running out after, where are we, 2 and a bit days or whatever of rallying. But you know what I mean? It's the whole package coming together.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. This is one of the real big appeals about rallying we've spoken about over the course of the days is variety. At the end of the day, most of these cars, is everyone's pride and joy. It's their hobby. It's a professional hobby, if you want to put it that way, for a lot of people. But rallying gives you the opportunity to bring what car you want or would like to. Like for me, the 90s era onwards are my sort of thing, so front wheel drive, sequential gearboxes right up until the current modern day Rally 4 and Rally 2 cars. They're like the pinnacle, but I guess it's what you grow up with. But yeah, you're right, those top teams with all the 4 and 3 matching cars, it really just kind of brings the level of the sport up a little bit.
Well, I'll talk to Nigel in a sec once this car's gone past, but it is different levels because there were an awful lot of families out in Aberystwyth town centre last night to watch the stage. There are others who've gone to service who maybe wouldn't come out on the stages, or they might next year. So who knows? 65 this is. Graham Mutter and Steve Hallmark. Yeah, Nigel, if I can just bring you in, this whole. Some spectators will go to service, some will go to the town stages where you make it easy for them. It's an unfortunate expression that sort of get them hooked on rallying, and then maybe next year they'll come out to see a stage, and then once they do that, like you and I were talking about earlier, we've got them.
Yes, and it's not all even that, because some spectators are really casual, if you like. And they're just very happy to see the rally in town. I was talking to a lovely elderly couple in Aberystwyth yesterday at the control, and they
56 is Jonathan Davis and Sean Rowland in the Peugeot. Sorry, Nigel, you were saying?
Yes, this lovely elderly couple, and the lady came up to me and she said, could you tell me what time they're coming here and what they're doing next and when they're going out, and basic questions like that. So I kind of filled her in a little bit on what it's all about, and we had a little chat, and they have no interest in going out the stages, but they were just really, really happy to see such a big event in their town. And so, there's some spectators who they're just happy because they can see the events in the service area or on the
promenade or whatever,
whereas those more adventurous plus will come out and stand in the field like we are, and even if it rains they may come out as well, but fewer of them, that type of thing. But yeah, there are tiers of people with interest, and we've got to cater to them all, I think.
Yeah, I think so, and that's the accessibility of rallying, because let's face it, you drive out, if you don't want to go to spectator area. Obviously the fan zones are well set up, and they've got the the toilets and maybe the big screens or whatever they've got. But the spectators we've seen, they know the area they've parked up hasn't cost them anything. Well,
it's important to remember that by and large this sport is very accessible, and it's mostly free to watch. I mean, you just have to pay very small amounts of money, which is not the same for most spectator sports if you think about it. There's quite a big financial commitment, and so this sport you can get it closer to the people, and it really doesn't cost them that much to see it.
I think we probably need to mention WRC levels, because back in the day I used to park up, pay a couple of pounds to the local scout group or whatever who were looking after the car park, and the money would go to charity, and we'd go in and watch 50 cars or whatever, then we toddle off to the next one and do the same. These days, very different. You have to go to a spectator area, you have to pay the big bucks, and I think people who maybe grew up in the era of not paying resent that. And then of course there's the flip side. We talked about the marshals earlier on, who are volunteers. If you pay for something and then a marshal is difficult, I'm choosing my words carefully here, people potentially say, I've paid to be here, I can do what I like, you can't tell me. And that's quite difficult then, because you've got friction, Matt.
That is correct. Now, ultimately, the marshals are there to do a job. We have rules and regulations that need to be enforced. But ultimately, it's a partnership. We're all here for one thing, and that's to see the rally. To see the cars. Everyone is on the same team, and I kind of guess I would encourage people to maybe even just have a look at marshalling. Go give it a go. It's sort of, even if it's one day out and you decide it's not for you, that there's schemes in place. And I think most people would actually enjoy it and find a new hobby, and that's it then, hooked, just like we all are.
We've been talking about it. 84, Ricky Reynolds and Heavy Jenkins, while we've been talking. Malcolm Atherton and Jamie Atherton have been through, and William Mains and Thomas Whittle in the little orange Vauxhall Nova that we've been talking about all weekend. Now we're on page 3 of my start list for the day. There are only 3.5 pages, if that. And right at the bottom of the order, those 4 white Land Rovers. I hope they are still running, after we've talked them up so much. But we're going to get into some of the exotica that we've been featuring. So the Gilburns aren't far away, nor indeed the Ginetta, the 1600 Saxo, and the Mark 1 Escort. Mark II, one of 42, as we were saying earlier, out of an original start list of 112. Number 50, Barry Stevenson Wheeler and John Pickavance in their Escort RS 1800. Should be an Impreza through next, car 40, Steve Nibbs and Gerwin Barry. And I think also, just going back to what we were saying about marshalling, it gives people an understanding of how an event is organised, and the fact that maybe if you've been a marshal, you can put yourself in people's places. But the atmosphere this weekend has been very relaxed, very convivial. We've been laughing and joking with the marshals. I think, if you're paying big money to be somewhere, that kind of exchange is a little different, and that's a little bit awkward. And also, having worked in circuit motorsport, it's again very different, because you're in a very controlled environment. You're potentially paying big money to go and see GTs or touring cars or whatever it is. Whereas rallying, you're out in the country, you're in the fresh air, and it's also a bit of a challenge to get to places, because you're driving across some really nice roads to get there. Indeed it was, car 40, Steve Nibbs and Gerwin Barry in the Impreza. Where are we? Junction 6, I think that is, up just up on our left. I think, yeah, we were originally meant to be at Junction 5, which is that just area behind the trees where everyone stood on the bank. And we are, I think, about 2/3 of the way through the stage. So once the sweeper van goes through, we'll be heading back and then heading down to Aberystwyth, setting up for the ceremonial finish, which is on the promenade. The crews, of course, once they leave this stage, have another 2 to go before heading back down for a quick sort of splash and dash And it's now, what, 20 to 3 in the afternoon, and the finish ceremony on the seafront in Aberystwyth starts at 5 o'clock. So make a note for that, for to be with us, to catch up on some of the stories and to find out, has Callum Black done what it takes to take the title this year? .107, James Evans and Mark Hughes in another of the Mark IIs. You enjoyed yourself, Nigel. You seem to be basking in the sunshine. Your face going almost as pink as your Motorsport tabard.
It's the reflection of this pink tabard, I think, is what it is. But no, yes, absolutely. How can you not enjoy yourself in a position like this, right? Especially with you for company, you know.
I was going to say, get the plug in at some point. This, I think, is the Astra. Possibly Jeff Glover and Keith Barker, is it? Car 82? Yeah, the white one, isn't it? Rear-wheel drive, yeah. A Gilburn, you say? Yeah, we're down at the makes you smile in a good way end of the running order now. The Mark III Astra, rear-wheel drive of Jeff Glover going through, and you may have just heard Matt pointing out to me that next one through should be car 93. Yes, it is, which is one of the two Gilburns. Chris Jones, this one, with Richard Evans alongside in the Invader, and it's his brother Mark Jones that we'll be seeing later on in car 94 with the Gilburn Genie. You thought it looked like a Fiat. I think it looks like a Gilburn, frankly. You reckon a Fiat 124? Oh, I reckon Gilburn. Protyre tyres on the side, so both of them members of Clweli Motor Club, so fairly local to me in West Wales, not a million miles away from me, and of course quite close to Pembrey, where you and I have been on more than one occasion for single venue events.
Oh, yes.
Oh, they found us. No, using satellite technology, unheard of in your day, Nigel. That's a familiar engine note. 208 again, isn't it? R2 this time. Gary Ollerenshaw and Dion Morley, car 99. This should be heading down towards us. And already the next car in view should be an Evo 9, this one. Ian Jarvis and Paul Train, car 86. As the Mitsubishi heads up the hill and out of sight. Let's have a look who else is to come. A couple of Escorts, a couple of Fiestas. Oh, there's a Ginetta. We mentioned that. Sustainable fuel. Did we mention that? No, I mean we're saying it tongue-in-cheek because we've mentioned it pretty much every time we've seen either of those cars. But you know, it is a move to make rallying more sustainable, and it's it's answering some of the critics. A few of whom we've heard from this weekend. There were a few people who weren't particularly happy about the stage going through the streets of Aberystwyth last night. But actually, It is in there somewhere. But actually, you know, they were complaining about the Matthew Wilson demonstration in a hybrid. Come on. So the sport, the industry, the fuel companies, we are all trying to make this more sustainable. There is a serious point behind this. And yes, we are talking about the sustainable fuel. You know, if I swap hats with something else I do, there's sustainable aviation fuel that's now coming in. And obviously the big airlines are going to be swallowing up, you know, however much the refineries or the companies can make. But the industry is moving. It's, you know, it's like a super tanker. It takes a long time to turn around. But the fact that here we are on a rally in mid-Wales and a couple of the cars are running on sustainable fuel. There was an electric car. I know we were teasing it last year and people weren't particularly overjoyed with the noise it made. But, you know, Tom Cave was driving that from Myerscough College. You know, the sport is evolving as it's evolved over the years, and it continues to do so. Car 106 is the Fiesta R2T of Jeremy Packer and Glyn Thomas. I reckon we've got about 26, 27 cars to come, maybe, including who knows how many Land Rovers.
Was it 4 back running before? Then we had one unfortunately stop with us that looked like having some technical problems. Got going again.
112 stopped just by the arch on the earlier stage, but kept going again. And if you were with us earlier, you saw the Escort sadly go sliding down the hill once it, I think, came through a fence or a gateway at the top of the hill on the first stage this morning. It just kept on sliding down the grass and eventually had to be recovered by one of the rally's recovery units, but that made it out okay. And you had to feel for them on that very grassy slope I mentioned, green ice earlier on. Yeah, there was only one way that was ending, and it wasn't going to be on the stage without outside help. Car 78, Aaron Evans and Donald James. Any times through from the next one, or is it a bit of a run out to the next stage? Sorry, Matt, you were looking at something else.
I wasn't. You literally just caught me looking at the times there. So yeah, the top 6 are through. So in the next stage 13, Oshan's gone fastest by 1 second. So he now has a 29-second lead. So Aaron Evans, then second fastest, taking 1 second out of James Williams. So that the gap between them into the last one is 10.6 seconds for second place. Still incredibly close. And Callum there, 4th fastest through. Still then, as we say, doing everything he needs to do to clinch that title. 1 stage to go.
And the Droop Snoot Escort makes its way past us, car 75. Colin Davis and Lucy Wilding. And if you're just joining us and you're wondering what is happening in terms of the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt title, well, coming into the event this weekend, it was a 2-horse race between Callum Black and Neil Roskell. And I'm sorry to say that it's become a 1-horse race effectively, in that Neil has pulled up with a mechanical issue slightly earlier in the day, and so Callum has now got 1 stage to get through. That's all he has to do to take the title, and so Neil Roskell potentially will finish as runner-up for the 2nd year running, but of course we haven't looked at the point situation, and so it could well be that Darren Atkinson... okay, but he was 3rd in the point standings, wasn't he? So has he done enough to get past Neil maybe with a DNF? If you can have a look at that for me, I'd be very grateful. Yes, or if our championship guys are watching down at service, if you can do the sums for us, please, I'd be really grateful. The Mark 1 Escort of Avion Thomas and Derry Davis. A couple more cars to come before Phil Mills and Ewan Mills. We've been talking about them all weekend. And also there's your Saxo to come just before Phil. Micra? What? Micra? What? I've been teasing him all weekend. Don't worry, Nigel. Yeah, where are we going to see the pictures, by the way? Somebody asked on the feed yesterday, where are we going to see pictures of this build?
I'll get some posted, but I also think you get some fresh ones. So the rear beam should be finished anytime soon, and I can get it back out the garage and get some nice fresh ones, I think.
Just sunglasses on before you look at it. It's bright. Hugh Geraint-Jones and Sean Cunniff, car 71. Should be the Ginetta through next. Should be car 95, Nick Hurd and Oliver Matheson. And we're not far away from the Saxo. And indeed Phil Mills, a couple of cars away. And then we're very close to the fourth and final page of my start list on my iPad here. If you're just joining us, where have you been? We are on stage 12 of 14. It's the first stage of this final loop of the JDS Machinery Rally Ceredigion 2023. It's Mark James, Matthew Jackson and Nigel Evans standing on a hillside in mid-Wales, about 12 miles or so inland from Aberystwyth, and watching a parade of lovely machinery going past us, and also talking about the overall positions and of course championship positions in the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Championship. There's yet another car carrying the Protyre windscreen sticker. Car 95 is Nick Hurd and Oliver Matheson. My watch went ping then for a sec, and I thought someone was going to tell me what was happening with the points, but no, it was some pesky app telling me that I need to stand up, which is rather bizarre considering we've been stood out on a hillside all afternoon. You all right there, young ginger fella?
Just trying to find some shade on this shadeless hillside. No.
I know the feeling.
Just a bit of water there, but no, it is warm. And let's say that makes it harder for the drivers. You know, the car's already running inherently hot inside. You know, there's nothing in there to protect the heat. It's all, or really, it's all from the exhaust heats up the inside of the car. You're working hard. So yeah, you know, after this stage, there's another couple for these crews. In the height of the heat, it'll be challenging in there for them.
What happens when you're sitting on a start line and you're ready to start the stage in weather like this? It could probably get quite uncomfortable in the car.
It does. It's like a big heat soak. So you got the engine and the transmission tunnel all sat there, all the car's absorbing heat. You know, as soon as you get moving, you get that bit of airflow through the roof vent or just through the little gap in the side window. But it's when you're sat there, that's the worst. Helmet on, everything just feels. I think that it feels about 20 degrees hotter than it actually is. But yes, that feeling like temperature is really difficult there.
103, Andrew Scott and Ian Robertson just went past us in their Mark II. Should be the Citroen Saxo through next. And there is the Saxo. We've been talking about that all weekend. The helicopter just going over us, not anything to do with the rally. Let's think anyway. Do you know, I am starting to come across to your way of thinking about kit cars. That does look nice, doesn't it?
See, so I told you, it does. They have that appeal, the small little. I think it's because what you would associate as a bit of a shopping car, but then all of a sudden the wider, lower, the sound, it's just not what you expect from the car.
You see, for me, the kit cars were the likes of the Megane or the Escort with the arches, or of course in the WRC days, it was the likes of Harry Rovanpera in the Seat Ibiza, of which Gwyndaf Evans has one in his garage.
He does, and I'm extremely jealous. I think the 306 Maxi, the Renault Maxi Megane, if I was to win the lottery, I'd have to buy one of each, I think. I don't think I could pick up just the one.
There's Phil Mills we were talking about. I think Phil will be more than happy to get through to the end of this rally. He's done a really good job. 60th birthday present to himself, that car maybe. Only finished very recently this week, that Mark 1, and Phil co-driven by his son Iwan, and I'm pleased to see them. Hopefully I'll catch up with them at the finish, although we'll probably be well on our way home, unfortunately, by the time they come to the finish. But no, fingers crossed. I'll message Phil later on and say it was really good to see him. you've got me thinking lottery wins. Sport Quattro. Yeah, Sport Quattro, definitely. Nigel, lottery win, what would you buy?
Well, in terms of a rally car, you mean? Well, either than listen to 40 RS or that Metro 6R4. One of those two, for sure.
Okay, so Group B era, like me. John Rossiter there, and Yeston Pin, sorry guys, in the Ford Escort. That looks like my brother's car. Let's just get it out of the way with the square lights. Okay, I'm regret mentioning it now, okay? Sorry, Nigel, you were saying?
Oh, I'd say, of course, you need another lottery win to run those cars on a championship.
Yeah. Well, I think I may have told this story before, but I did the Chatsworth Rally Show many years ago, and I was doing this kind of job and chatting to people on the start line, and there was a Sport Quattro in full-on, Audi HB colours. It was wonderful. So I said to the driver, what's the history? And he went, oh, it's not a real car. Oh. And he said, it's a tribute car. He said, it's made from a road car. It's a replica. Oh, right, okay. He said, because the other one's too valuable to run. And I went, what other one? And he said, oh, the one that's on display down in the main Audi kind of area in the display. I said, what? Another one of these? He said, yeah, that's an ex-Mikola car. You've got 2 Sport Quattros. Yeah. Okay. How to make someone feel inadequate. The little Lotus Elise. Oh, you want to tell me something?
Yeah, so just got a message through. So a lottery win for my mum, the Tony Pond 6R4. So there you go.
Ah, the computer vision car.
Absolutely. So it looks like I'll have to get one of them as well.
Okay, dream garage time. Okay. Now I do like an Integrale, I have to say, which is why I was so happy on the seafront last night. There was an Integrale or 2 down there, and what looked like an 037 Lancia, but I think it was a kit car. Yeah, it was. It was right-hand drive, wasn't it? Still looked good though. Excuse me. Car 96 gets me onto the 4th and final page of today's start list. Peter Lewis and Joshua Weston in the Mark III rear-wheel drive, did you say, Escort? Nodding.
The Mark 6 rear-wheel drive Escort.
Mark 6. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, the 3 was the square headlights we saw before, wasn't it? And then
wasn't the 6? Oh, sorry, wasn't the 3 the one that Ford brought out, and the journalists hated it, so they brought out the Mark IV really quickly, or much more quickly than they should have done? Or is that something I dreamt up? No, I'm pretty sure. One of the Ford Escorts was replaced very quickly because it was absolutely savaged by motoring journalists.
That was the Mark III, the square headlight, and then the Mark IV. What would he do without Google, hey?
I should explain, ladies and gentlemen, that Matt is now showing me pictures on his phone. This doesn't work when you're not in vision. Car 98 just going past us, Gareth Parry and Lewis Griffiths. Okay, so what are you showing me?
The various Escorts. Yeah, I think you're right that the Mark IV it's not a fantastic looking car, is there?
Was it the Mark IV that was quickly replaced?
Then the 5, and then the 6.
Oh, also, while we're talking about Fords, I must remember to mention, we talked about a 2.3 litre engine, was it last night? Somebody picked me up on it, because I said the only 2.3 engine I can remember was the sort of the Chevette HSR kind of engine. Well, somebody pointed out that, oh, it's the Micra, yeah, you're getting excited. Someone pointed out that Ford did a 2.3 that was in the Scorpio and the Transit and Galaxy.
Yes.
So there was a Ford 2.3, so that's what it was. You see, I keep saying, if I don't know something, I go and tell or ask the audience, and they tell me it's great. Nope, I've lost him. He's away with the ferry, and he's back in the room. Back in the room. Yeah. You go. Yeah, every time that car goes past, it's like, excuse me, I'm just going to take a picture. That phone of yours is going to be full of pictures of a blue micro kit car.
Well, yeah, or even more pictures of micro kit cars.
Even more, yeah, okay. But that's blue, yours will be yellow. Actually, yeah, you are keeping it yellow, aren't you?
Yeah, that's the plan. We're going to do something with it just to break it up a little bit, but I think keep it yellow for now. Everyone will recognise it and say, yeah, so, you know, that's probably one of the main points.
B stripes.
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
Ah, go on, be bold. Got a honey sponsor or something. What's that then, Matt?
That is a Gilbert.
Well spotted. Thank you very much. Indulge me, why don't you?
Built in Wales.
Used to be. Sadly, Wales no longer has a Gilburn factory, although we now make Aston Martins.
They're both hand-built, right? To a certain extent?
Hand-built Aston Martin. Yeah, I suppose so. Bits of it, anyway. Although the last... Oh, this is going to sound terrible. Sorry, this isn't meant to come across the way it probably will. The last Aston Martin I drove... Don't look at me like that. The last Aston Martin I drove, you know on the kick plate, where it says Aston Martin, it actually said hand-built for 007. It was one of the cars they used for filming. It was the Vanquish, so it would have probably been one of the Daniel Craig cars. And as I went in, it was pointed out to me. So as you step in, look at that. It's like, oh, that's nice. So, yeah, hand-built, I guess. Although probably that car was hand-built for 007. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the ejector seat and the machine guns, yeah. Yeah, because they can't be fitted by robot, can they? Car 97, Paul Jenkins and Lucy Guttridge. Heading up the hill away from us, and I think I've got about 10 or 11 cars to come through, depending if anyone's running out of position. Although, of course, we're not going to get 104 come through, because I think 104, Mal Boyd and Harry Stubbs, that was the Escort that went sliding down the hill in front of us on stage 2 this morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, unfortunately, but they did get recovered out of the field, and it drove out to the road, or at least drove out to the stage exit. So again, hopefully the car's not too bad and get it back out as soon as they can.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Didn't look damaged, as I say. It just slid down that green ice that we were talking about down the hill. But no, as you say, it left the stage under its own power, as did the Darien earlier on. But it is parked up, unfortunately, off the stage. But both the crew fine, as you saw earlier, and okay, cosmetic damage, but the Darien will live to fight on. That's the Mark 1 Escort of Bob Morris and Dill John. Now, is this the Sunbeam coming towards us? David Williams and Andrew Davis, 74 this could be. Not sure. Oh no, it's an Escort, Mark 2. Matthew Curzon and Gareth Short. Didn't we get a tip-off from someone that had stopped earlier or having problems on the stage? They've obviously got going again, but was that on the stage we were on or the following one? I think after they passed us on stage 2 this morning. Same stage, first run through this morning. So a handful of cars remaining then on this second run through the stage. Just to remember that there are 2 more stages after this. The leaders are through stage 13. They just have stage 14 to get through, and then Ocean Price potentially takes the rally victory, and potentially, and I'm saying this with fingers crossed, that he gets through with no issues. Callum Black will finish as the 2023 Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt champion, denying Neil Roskell, and so Neil potentially finishing as runner-up for the 2nd year in a row, finishing behind Steve Wood last year. Car 105, Rob Richards and Teresa Butler in the little Peugeot 106 Rally. And you know, we said this yesterday, didn't we, Matt, before the rally, that no matter which one of them won, it would be a popular victory. And they get on really well. The last time I saw them on Argyll, for example, they were both in a pub together, Neil and Callum. So everyone, you know, I don't think either of them would be unhappy at the other one winning, if you know what I mean. If they couldn't win, they'd be relaxed at the fact that the other one would win.
Yeah, of course. One of the good things about rallying is the camaraderie between the crews. You know, you saw Callum and Jack having a cup of tea with in the camper the other morning before the recce with Neil. So you know, it's a battle on the stages, but good friends and good friends and all the banter off the stages.
Well, and there has been plenty of banter. Are you on the WhatsApp group?
No, not the competitors one, but I hear there's. I think I need to. I think I'm missing out on all the fun and games.
We're not allowed to do screenshots anymore, I don't think. Put it like that.
So what we need to do is register for the championship to get access to all that, is it?
Maybe, possibly. Talk to Paul. I'm not getting sucked into that one. David Andrew Davis, I think that was 85, with Andrew Rees alongside in the Impreza. We've not seen the Sunbeam go through yet, have we? So there's a couple of cars we need to see. And then, of course, the potentially 4 white Land Rover Defenders, which will be bringing up the back end of the field. And that will then conclude our coverage on this stage 12 of the rally. We will then cut and run down to Aberystwyth once we can get out of the stage, once the sweeper car goes through. And we'll then hopefully do what we did last year, muscle our way into the front of the media pack at the finish ramp, which is on the promenade in Aberystwyth. If you're watching this, by the way, and you're in the Aberystwyth area, do come on down. Finish ramp, excuse me, is at 5 o'clock. Car 102 is Jonathan Davis and Dylan Davis in 20. I said 206, 208, isn't it? It is a 206. This is the Sunbeam. He says confidently, just seeing it disappearing behind the trees. Phew. We talked about this earlier on, didn't we, Nigel? The Sunbeams and the Sunbeam Lotus and that sort of thing. Not one of those cars born under a bad sign, as we were saying earlier on, but just never had the popularity then of the Escort.
No, it was always in the shadow of the Escort in those Group 4 days, wasn't it? But they did, they had quite a lot of success under Des O'Dell, if you remember, the boss back at Talbot, as it was then. And spurred on by the success of Toiven in the RAC.
And Guy Frecklin and the others, you know.
A great competitive car. But yeah, I mean, the Escort was the overpowering, successful car of the Group 4 era before things started to go crazy on towards Group B.
When you think back of the era, there have been several kind of golden eras in rallying where you've got, the likes of, first of the Defenders coming towards us, but you've got the era of the Escort, the Sunbeam, the Chevette, the TR7. It was a one golden era. Then we got into Group B, what more needs to be said, because we've been waxing lyrical about it. Then there was the Group A era of the Impreza, the Escort World Rally Car and the likes. And now we've got these amazing hybrids, which are expensive, to put it mildly, but it's moving the technology onwards, isn't it?
It is. I mean, the technology has advanced, unbelievably quickly over the years. And the pace that these cars can go now, through an over an undulating road, through a series of bends.
Flat.
They can pretty much take them flat because of the tech on the suspension and the transmission. Of course, they don't have center differentials and things like that, trick differentials anymore. But still, you just couldn't physically do that in the cars of the Group 4 and Group B days.
And yet, we've been talking about the new technology and the advances and all the rest of it as a Land Rover goes past. 109 that was, first of potentially 4 of the Land Rovers. Here comes the second. 109 was George Martin and Jack Bean. In the Defender Wolf XD, it says here. So we're not going to see Mal Boyd. because we saw them earlier sliding down a hillside on stage 2, but they are okay. This is potentially 1-1-1. Keith Harvey and Josephine Harris in the second of the Armed Forces Land Rover Defenders. And here comes the third one. I just caught Keith's rank as Sergeant. I didn't see Josephine's rank, but all, I believe, serving military personnel, which has been the buzzword of that team over the years, serving, the camaraderie and the fact that, as we were saying earlier, they are happy to stop, pull competitors out of ditches and so forth, and they just have a lot of fun, beeping at the crowds as they went through Aberystwyth last night. Matt's got a big smile on his face.
Yeah, it's great to see them tussling these defenders around the stages. They really, they don't hang around at all. I mean, we saw yesterday, they are a crowd favourite as well.
Yeah, I mean, they were waving, and the fans like to see them, and we did have quite a big crowd stay behind right to the end at the Aberystwyth town stage. Lots of families, lots of kids waving, very excited, and as we've been saying, how many of those will turn into rally fans because they've loved the exposure to rallying in an easy way, in an easy to access way in the middle of the town. So perhaps they've been out shopping for the day and something's going on, and what's this going on? Oh, there's a rally, we'll stay and watch that. And I saw a friend of mine with his kids, so I don't know if Jacob is watching the live stream this afternoon. Really good to see you at the town stage last night. Indeed, 4 Land Rover Defenders running. This should be our tail end Charlie. This should be 1-1-2, Benjamin Shackleton and Michael Hurley. But yeah, Jacob, if you're watching, it was great to see you and the kids in Aberystwyth last night, and I hope they enjoyed themselves. Lots of people getting autograph cards and the rest of it. So the whole family thing, the whole great friendly accessibility, that's really what this rally's been about all weekend. But this potentially is the final car through this 12th stage of the rally, the Land Rover Defender of Benjamin Shackleton and Michael Hurley. Thanks to the UK Armed Forces rally team for putting a smile on our faces, giving us something to talk about right to the end of the field, right to the end of the entry list. If we start wrapping up, guys, I guarantee another car will show up. So let's start winding things up. It's been stage 12 of the rally, of the JDS Machinery Rally Ceredigion. That's our last stage coverage for us three. Of course, Paul Woodford and Hugh Hunter are on the final stage of the rally, so they have another live feed for you to come. Do please keep an eye on your Facebook feeds wherever you get the Protyre Championship coverage from, whether it's from Special Stage or Protyre or Rally Ceredigion. One more stage to be covered, and then I'll be at the seafront in Aberystwyth at about 5 o'clock, probably just before, to show you the ceremony, chat to some of the top 3, and also to focus potentially on our Protyre Championship winners. We'll talk to some of the class winners and also a new champion. Who will it be? Only one stage now stands between Callum and the title. Have you enjoyed yourself, Matt?
It's been a great afternoon, or a great day so far. You know, the weather is absolutely fantastic for, I say for this time of year, but you know, at this part of the world, when weather's like this, I don't think you can beat it. Yeah, it's been great to watch the action on the stages, and let's hope these last couple of stages run to plan, and we'll see who's crowned champion in a couple of hours' time.
You've been great company over the weekend. Thank you very much. And judging by some of the comments on the live streams, your input, your stories, your insight into the cars has gone down very well. So thanks very much.
No problem. Thank you, and thanks everyone's been watching. It's been nice to see all the support and messages come through the weekend. Yeah, thank you.
Nigel, thank you for today. You've been with us for a couple of stages, and you are cooking in the sun, definitely. But you've enjoyed yourself as well.
It's been fabulous. Thanks for the opportunity. Great to hang out with you and Matt and Wayne and the rest of the team. And yeah, it's been a day to remember.
Reacquainting yourself with the championship.
Yes, absolutely. You know, as we've been saying, this is now the last day of the 40th anniversary of the original, what was called then the Castrol Motoring News Championship in its first year. So, and I was lucky enough to be one of the co-founders of that. So it's just good to see how it's developed over all these years, and here we are today.
Happy 40th birthday, Nigel. Should we just leave it at that?
Well, he's not my 40th as well.
Stop now, stop now.
I'm 41, so.
Thank you to both of you. Thanks to you for watching, not only for this afternoon, but throughout the weekend, as I say. Paul with you for one last live stage from the rally, and who knows what dramas that potentially holds. But I will be down on the seafront in Aberystwyth from about 5 o'clock, wrapping things up in terms of the rally, and indeed the sweeper car is heading up the road towards us. So that means officially it is the end of our feed from stage 12 of the rally. Thanks again to you for your company, and fingers crossed we'll see you on the seafront in Aberystwyth.